Hey there everybody, it's Wayne D. Here on the left you see Jamie Kilmer. He's the PGA Professional Head Pro up in New York at Wheatley Hills. And on the right you see one of my favorite players, Charlie Hoffman. These guys are built fairly similarly. Pretty stocky, strong. So I wanted to, Jamie was complaining about these high right shots, weak shots that he's hitting. So I was taking a look at the couple of swings that he sent. And I put Charlie up here because part of this is going to be a little bit about backswing position and then sequencing as far as keeping the upper and lower bodies in sync. I like the way Charlie swings. It's a little different. It's a little more across him, a little flatter. And for a thick guy, I think that's not a bad idea. So I'd like to see actually Jamie. We can stick with the takeaway going very slightly out for extension, and then up in this area from about say P 1.5, if we rotated the face a little bit more, I think what we would get is we'd get the left arm working more across the chest. So we want to get the feeling that it doesn't have to be exactly like that, but the face would feel like it was lining up with the plane of the shaft more. So what I would like to see at left arm parallel, instead of a progression of what we had here, which is 54 to up to 64, I'd like to see it a little deeper, maybe over here, right? So that would move this is a little bit of a different angle with Charlie, so it's not going to be exactly the same, but you can see its elbows going to be a little deeper over there, and definitely the left arm more across the chest. Again, with the camera up higher, it's going to look lower, but when you look at Charlie's swing, here's a driver swing from 3-4 years ago. So I kind of like that for Jamie because he tends to get the club up and a little bit crossed. So a little bit more face rotation. So that's forearm rotation, and we're going to think about right forearm supination, and what that would do if the hands are a little deeper here at P3 and the right forearm was supinating a little bit more, the upper arm would try to externally rotate, and by the time it got up here it would feel like it was staying a little bit more in front of the chest. So that's one thing. So it would feel deeper, a little flatter, and wider. If we look at the face on, let's take a peek. So it's not that that doesn't look wide, but if we look at where the right arm is, I'd like to just see the upper arm point. You can't really tell from this angle. Now what you can tell from this angle, and you can tell from both angles, is in transition, if you watch the activity in the pelvis, below the waist, and then you watch what's happening up here, what you're going to see is that the pelvis, when it rotates to reverse direction, is going to pull the rib cage, but the shoulders above this line here are not going to respond because they're going to keep going backwards. So watch that. I'll just run that back and forth with my toggle here, and you can see how much pelvic rotation there is, and the whole time that pelvis is trying to get back to square, the right arm is not moving. So we're not catching the upper back, the thoracic, the shoulders, and the upper back up here. So what happens is now this can work if the arms are in front enough and they can really drive down and forward, but the right arm here is not able to adduct, meaning it's not able to drive down and forward to get in front of the body a little bit, so it gets stuck up and back up here. So you can really see it here. So if this happens, what would it look like on a 3D would be that the pelvic acceleration would work very quickly into the torso, but that the left arm would not be responding. So you can see it, both shoulders and arms are trailing back, and the culprit here is the upper right arm. So the upper right arm gets caught. It can't drive forward, so that you can't flatten the shaft. The grip hand path is okay. But the right arm being way back here and the shaft not flattening much, it just ends up with the shaft way out on the left arm. So if we go back to where Jamie started his swing, and you see the hands at address, and then we go up and bring it down, you can see the approach angle of the hands. It's way up here, and the shaft is way out there. So we're not going to be able, unless the hands are super late, which they're really not. You can see, it's a little blurry, but you can definitely see that the shaft is somewhere between here and here by now. All right, so I was hoping that if the backswing looked a little bit more, if the left arm is more across and the right arm is a little more in front, that in the start down, what we would like to do is we want to feel like that the change of direction with the right side pelvic muscles would actually feel like it was affecting the right shoulder more immediately. So that's why the elbows up here need to feel more tied together. And when that pelvis moves like that and starts to affect the lead shoulder, that right upper shoulder needs to be moving down and forward. So right now in the sequence of things, it's just getting caught back there, and it's not really able to, like I said, adduction is that downward and forward movement of the upper right arm. And as you can see, when I click this a couple times, if you just watch it up here, that right arm is going to stay there. Alright, so I would like to see the grip over here at the top, the club a little more left. Let's go back and we take a look at Charlie's iron swing. So Charlie's not really one to get his right arm way in front of him, but it's sequenced such that as he comes forward, he gets nicely open but his upper body is opening at the same time. So he's able to get the club around on it, cover it. All right, so that'd be something to work on. So if it the feeling might be, and this is something you have to fiddle with, is see if we can keep the hips from spinning immediately. We've been trying to get open, but we don't want to leave the upper body behind. So I'm thinking if you can continue to try to move the hips in that fashion, as long as the upper trunk up here does not get stuck behind back there. All right.